joining the USFL, and they're expected to make an impact for sure with the inaugural USFL Draft all but completed now, even though we're still going to have a couple more events coming down the pike with the supplemental draft. However, there are, with spring football fans, out of the 279 players drafted, 51 had XFL experience, which comes to around 18% of the league. With the USFL looking to be its own separate entity, a good start to that is allowing more opportunities to players who can make their own name in the league. So players, the Tampa Bay Bandits had 9 players from the XFL. My Tampa Bay Bandits overall was the second overall pick, Jordan Taaamu of the St. Louis Battlehawks. That's right. He is part of the USFL, and something that Mike Mitchell had broke that Taaamu was going to be part of the first round of quarterbacks taken in the drafts. Other guys, Juwan Bichelle, Eli Rogers, Bruno Regan, Frank Laura, Damian Mama, Reggie Howard, Emmanuel Beal, and Daquan Hampton. I remember Daquan Hampton. I think he was the guy that tore his ACL or something, tight end, like the last game before things shut down. The Pittsburgh Maulers have 5 players, some notable names: Boogie Roberts, Tyson Graham is some names there. 6 players from the Philadelphia Stars, Channing Stribling. I recognize that name. Matthew Colburn, recognize that as well. New Orleans Breakers have got 5 players: James Folston, Derek Jones, Seattle Dragon Larry Rose, running back. Remember those names. And Austin McGinnis from the Dallas Renegades makes up the New Orleans Breakers. Remember him. New Jersey Generals have 8: Terry Poole, David Rivers, Devon Askew Henry. I remember him. Those are some names there. Nick Truesdale, tight end. If you were into fantasy football, that was a guy that a lot of people talked up, that he was going to be a stud with the Tampa Bay Vipers. Didn't really happen. It says during his time in the AFL, Truesdale caught 100 passes, including 23 touchdowns. Season with the Spokane Shock in 2015. Truesdale has had stints in the NFL, AAF, and XFL before now landing in the USFL. The Houston Gamblers have 10 players from the XFL. Offensive tackle Avery Genesee, remember him. Jamar Summers, I do remember him. And linebacker Benquez Brown from the Houston Roughnecks. Viewed as a favorite in Houston, Brown was a leader in tackles and tackles for loss. The former Roughneck was voted to the XFL News Hub All XFL by our very own Mike Mitchell. Brown has had stints in the AAF and NFL before joining the USFL. Though a bit older, Brown is suspected to be a top-tier player in the USFL. Reggie Northup, Brandon Barnes, tight end. Maybe was it Brandon Barnes that got hurt? I forget who. Michigan Panthers, 5 players from the XFL. Kevin Walker, Jeff Bedett, remember him? He played a little bit in the NFL this year. Birmingham Stallions got 3. They're the least ones. But Scooby Wright from the DC Defenders and DeMarcus Gates, 2 of my favorite XFL players, are now playing in the USFL. Scooby Wright, I might have even met him at one of the DC Defenders events. So with the XFL set to take off in 2023, many wonder, including our own Pat, I believe, wrote this article. Let me double check. I believe it was Pat. Yep. How many players will stay? As Mike Mitchell has stated, that the USFL contracts are 1-year deals with a 2-year option that becomes guaranteed by April 30th, 2022. With these contract issuing a non-compete with the XFL and CFL, the only players are allowed to leave the USFL for the NFL. They have to be cut in order for them to go to the NFL and try out. If they get cut from the NFL, then it's a freebie. So that's what you have here. Some of the big names in the USFL draft that were from the XFL. So again, Tampa Bay Vipers had 6, Renegades with 5, Guardians had 9 players, St. Louis, I guess that's the DC Defenders. Oh, St. Louis Battlehawks had 3, DC Defenders 5, Houston Roughnecks with 9, LA Wildcats with 10, and Seattle Dragons had 4. Those are your former, and a lot of them, 18% of the league, former XFL players in the USFL.